Therefore, to solve for cos, we start with e raised to j omega t u of t plus e raised to minus j omega naught t u of t whole divided by 2. Therefore, the Laplace transform will be so 1 by 2. The Laplace transform of first is 1 upon s minus j omega naught, and the Laplace transform of second is 1 upon s plus j omega naught. ROC for both is s greater than 0. If you take u of t common, this will be e raised to j omega naught t plus e raised to minus j omega naught t divided by 2 into u of t. And the right hand side, if you simplify, can be written as s plus j omega naught plus s minus j omega naught divided by s square minus j square omega naught square, s greater than 0. So plus j omega naught minus j omega naught gets cancelled, and this is nothing but cos omega naught t u of t. The Laplace transform will come out to be, the numerator will become 2s, and this is 1 by 2. So numerator can be written as s upon s square plus omega naught square. ROC will be s greater than 0. This is the Laplace transform of cos omega naught t u of t. We can similarly get the Laplace transform of sin omega naught t. The only difference will be, instead of plus sign, we have to use minus sign, and instead of 2, we have to use 2j. In the next question, I will solve for Laplace transform of sin omega naught t. In the next question, to solve for sin omega naught, I will start with the subtraction of e raised to j omega naught t u of t minus e raised to minus j omega naught t u of t. The Laplace transform of this is 1 upon s minus j omega naught. This has to be subtracted from the Laplace transform of this, which is 1 upon s plus j omega naught. If we simplify, I have taken u of t common, e raised to j omega naught t minus e raised to minus j omega naught t by 2j is nothing but sin omega naught t u of t. Therefore, the Laplace transform will come out to be, I think s will get cancelled, so we have 1 by 2j. The numerator will come out to be 2j omega naught divided by s square plus omega naught square. So 2j will cancel. So the sin omega naught t u of t Laplace transform comes out to be omega naught upon s square plus omega naught square. This is the Laplace transform of sin omega naught t. In the next question, we have to find the Laplace transform and ROC of e raised to minus at cos omega naught t u of t and e raised to minus at sin omega naught t u of t. I will start the fifth question with cos omega naught t u of t, which we have proved as s upon s square plus omega naught square. We will apply the shifting in s domain property. The shifting in s domain property, if we multiply the left hand side by e raised to minus at, if we multiply the left hand side by e raised to minus at, then the right hand side s has to be replaced by s plus a. So this will be s plus a whole square omega naught square. The ROC here is s greater than 0. So ROC for this will be s plus a greater than 0. Therefore, for e raised to minus at cos omega naught t u of t, the Laplace transform comes out to be s plus a divided by s plus a whole square omega naught square, and the ROC will be s greater than minus a. Similarly, to solve the sixth question, we can start with sin omega naught t u of t. For sin omega naught t u of t, the Laplace transform is omega naught upon s square plus omega naught square. The ROC is s is greater than 0. If you apply shifting in s domain, then we get e raised to minus at sin omega naught t u of t. So Since the left hand side is multiplied by e raised to minus at, in the right hand side s will be replaced by s plus a, and the ROC will also become s plus a greater than 0. Therefore, this Laplace transform will be omega naught upon s plus a whole square plus omega naught square. S is greater than minus a. In this way, properties of Laplace transform can be used to find Laplace transform and ROC of various signals. The next topic that we will discuss is the inverse Laplace transform. To begin with, we have to understand the effect of ROC on the inverse Laplace transform. I will take a couple of examples to explain the effect of ROC on inverse Laplace transform. Let us say we have an example 1 upon s plus 2, s is greater than minus 2. And another example 1 upon s plus 2, s is less than minus 2. What will be the inverse Laplace transform in both the cases? Because we have 1 upon s plus 2, for 1 upon s plus 2, the inverse Laplace transform will be e raised to minus 2t. Here also, since we have 1 upon s plus 2, the inverse Laplace transform will be e raised to minus 2t. Now, what about the ROC? What will be the difference because of the ROC? In this case, the ROC has a greater than sign. In this case, the ROC has a less than sign. So, always remember, when the ROC has the greater than sign, we multiply by the function u of t. Why do we multiply by the function u of t? Because a greater than sign in the ROC indicates right-sided signal. A greater than sign in the ROC indicates right-sided signal, and for right-sided signal, we always multiply by u of t. Similarly, since there is a less than sign here, a less than sign in the ROC indicates left-sided signal, and for left-sided signal, we multiply by minus u of minus t. So, always remember that for greater than sign, we multiply by u of t, and for less than sign in the ROC, we multiply by minus u of minus t. Don't forget this minus for the less than sign in the ROC. In the next question, we have to find the inverse Laplace transform for the function capital X of s is equal to 2s plus 4 divided by s square plus 4s plus 3. And we have to solve this question for 3 conditions of ROC. In the first case, ROC is s greater than minus 1. In the second case, ROC is s less than minus 3. And in the third case, the ROC is between minus 1 and minus 3. How do we solve the inverse Laplace transform of such a question? We would start with capital X of s, which is 2s plus 4 divided by s square plus 4s plus 3. We can factorize the denominator. The factors of the denominator will be 2s plus 4 divided by s plus 1 into s plus 3. Since we have factorized the denominator, now we can apply the partial fraction method. In the partial fraction method, we can write this as a upon s plus 1 plus b upon s plus 3. Now we have to find a and b. Now a can be calculated as limit s is tending to minus 1, s plus 1 into capital X of s. Therefore, this will become limit s is tending to minus 1, s plus 1 into 2s, this is 2s plus 4 divided by s plus 1 into s plus 3. S plus 1 will get cancelled. If you substitute the value of minus 1, this will be 2 into minus 1 plus 4 divided by minus 1 plus 3. So, this will come out to be 1. So, the value of A is 1. Similarly, we can find the value of B. To find the value of B, we can write this as limit s is tending to minus 3 s plus 3 into capital X of s by s. Therefore, we can write B as limit s is tending to minus 3 s plus 3 into 2s plus 4 divided by s plus 1 into s plus 3. So, s plus 3 would get cancelled and B will come out to be 2 into minus 3 plus 4 divided by minus 3 plus 1. So, the value of B also comes out to be 1. Therefore, we have calculated the value of A and B. Both A and B are coming out to be 1. Therefore, I can write capital X of s as 1 upon s plus 1 plus d is also 1. So I can write this as 1 upon s plus 3. Now, before taking the inverse Laplace transform, we have to look at the conditions of ROC. In this case, we have to solve for 3 cases of the ROC. So, in the case 1, ROC is given by s greater than minus 1. Therefore, I will write x of s as 1 upon s plus 1 plus 1 upon s plus 3. If we apply the inverse Laplace transform, x of t comes out to be e raised to minus t plus e raised to minus 3t. Since there is a greater than sign, we multiply by u of t. So, why do we multiply by u of t? Because there is a greater than sign in the ROC. A greater than sign in the ROC indicates a right-sided signal, and for right-sided signal, we multiply by u of t. Similarly, in the B part, the ROC is s less than minus 3. Since the ROC is s less than minus 3, what will be the inverse Laplace transform? So, if we take the inverse Laplace transform, capital X of t comes out to be, this is e raised to minus t plus e raised to minus 3t. But because there is less than sign, we should multiply by minus u of minus t. Therefore, the answer for the second part will be minus e raised to minus t plus e raised to minus 3t into u of minus t. Don't forget the minus sign outside the bracket. Lot of people forget this minus sign out of the bracket, because of which their answer becomes incorrect. In the third case, ROC is minus 3 less than s less than minus 1. Therefore, as you can observe, such an ROC is possible only for two-sided signal. In two-sided signal, we have a right-sided portion and a left-sided portion. Therefore, if you observe, s is greater than minus 3 and s is less than minus 1. Therefore, for the first part, since we have less than sign, we will multiply by minus u of minus t. Whereas, for the second part, we have greater than sign, hence we will multiply by u of t. Therefore, if we take the inverse Laplace transform, x of t will be minus e raised to minus t u of minus t plus this will be e raised to minus 3t into u of t. Again, if you observe, if there is a greater than sign, we multiply by u of t, and if there is a less than sign, we multiply by minus u of minus t. I hope you have understood how to take the inverse Laplace transform, and I hope you have also understood the implications of ROC on the inverse Laplace transform. Let us discuss the LTI system in the context of Laplace transform. Consider an LTI system whose input is x of t, output is y of t, and impulse response is h of t. Therefore, I can express the output y of t as x of t convolution with h of t. If you apply the Laplace transform, then y of t becomes y of s, x of t becomes x of s. If you remember from the properties of Laplace transform and the last property, which was the convolution property, a convolution in time becomes multiplication in s domain. Therefore, this would become capital X of s multiplied by h of s. Therefore, convolution in time will become multiplication in s domain. Therefore, we can write capital H of s as y of s divided by capital X of s. Here, capital H of s is called as the transfer function of the system, and the transfer function of the system is defined as ratio of Laplace transform of output to Laplace transform of input. This H of s is nothing but transfer function, and this transfer function capital H of s is very important in specifying the causality and stability of the system. Now we will look at the definition of causal system from the point of view of transfer function capital H of s. We will also look at stability of the system from the point of view of transfer function capital H of s. Next, we look at is the definition of causal system from the point of view of transfer function. How do we define a causal system from the point of view of transfer function? To define a causal system, we have to look at the ROC, that is region of convergence of the transfer function. If the ROC of transfer function contains greater than sign, I will say the system is causal. Similarly, a system can be called as anti-causal if the ROC of transfer function h of s contains the less than sign. Similarly, we will look at the definition of a stable system from the point of view of transfer function. Now again, to define a stable system by using transfer function, we need to look at the ROC or region of convergence of the transfer function. If the region of convergence of transfer function h of s includes the j omega axis, then a system is said to be stable. Therefore, a system is stable if ROC of transfer function h of s includes the j omega axis. Similarly, a system will be unstable if ROC of transfer function h of s does not include the j omega axis. Therefore, for stability, we look at ROC of transfer function. If ROC of transfer function includes j omega, we will say stable system. If ROC of transfer function does not include j omega axis, we will say that the system is unstable. We will take some examples to understand the causal system and stable system by using ROC of transfer function. Next, we will take 4 examples to explain how to identify causal system and stable system by using the ROC of transfer function. In the first example, the transfer function is 1 upon s plus 2 and the ROC is s greater than minus 2. In the second example, the transfer function is 1 upon s plus 2, s is less than minus 2. In the third example, h of s is transfer function is 1 upon s minus 2, s is greater than 2. And in the fourth example, the transfer function is 1 upon s minus 2, s is less than minus 2. So we have 4 transfer functions and all of them have the different ROCs. We will try to find out how to identify causal system and stable system. Now let us first think about causal system. Now in causal system, you have to look at the ROC and the sign that is present in the ROC. In the first ROC has greater than sign. Whenever you see greater than sign in the ROC of transfer function, we say that the system is causal. If you see less than sign in the ROC of transfer function, then we say that the system is anti-causal. Again, for this transfer function, the ROC contains greater than sign, hence the system is causal. For this transfer function, the ROC contains less than sign, hence it is anti-causal. Next, we will try to identify whether a system is stable or unstable by using the ROC of transfer function. Now, in the first ROC, let us draw the ROC. The ROC is s greater than minus 2. S greater than minus 2 is region to the right hand side of minus 2. The region to the right hand side of minus 2 includes the j omega axis. Since the j omega axis is included, we will say that the system is stable. Let us also plot the ROC of second question. For the second question, the ROC is to the left hand side of minus 2. Why is the ROC to the left hand side of minus 2? Because the ROC is s less than minus 2. Since the ROC is s less than minus 2, the region is to the left hand side of minus 2. Since ROC does not include j omega axis, the system is unstable. Let us plot the ROC of third question. The ROC of third question is s greater than 2. S greater than 2 means that the ROC is region to the right hand side of 2. Since it is region to the right hand side of 2, ROC does not include j omega axis. Since ROC does not include j omega axis, we will say that the system is unstable. Similarly, let us look at the last case. In the last case, ROC is s less than 2. Since the ROC is s less than 2, the ROC is region to the left hand side of 2. Since ROC is the region to the left hand side of 2, we can clearly see that ROC includes j omega axis. Since ROC includes j omega axis, we can say that the system is stable. Therefore, in summary, how do we look at a causal and stable system? Therefore, a system is said to be causal if there is greater than sign in the ROC of transfer function. A system is said to be anti-causal if there is less than sign in the ROC of transfer function. How do we identify a stable system? For stable system, the ROC of transfer function should include j omega axis. Whereas a system is unstable if ROC of transfer function h of s does not include j omega axis. I hope you have understood the 4 examples and how to identify causal and stable system. We will take another example. In this example, the transfer function is 1 upon s plus 2, s minus 2, and the ROC is between minus 2 and plus 2. As you can observe from the ROC, we can predict that the transfer function in this case is a two-sided signal. Now, there is greater than sign also in the ROC and there is less than sign in the ROC. Since there are both the signs, we cannot call it causal and anti-causal. In this case, we will call it as non-causal. Therefore, greater than sign would give me a causal system, less than sign would give me an anti-causal system, whereas both greater than and less than sign would give me a non-causal system. Let us look at the stability by drawing the ROC. If we draw the ROC is between plus 2 and minus 2. The ROC includes j omega axis. Since the ROC includes j omega axis, the system is stable.